Welcome to Z True Tales.
The story begins with a charming kingdom that lived luxuriously in the middle of the ocean. The blue water around him shone like transparent crystal, and colorful lights scattered in the air. The colorful fishes jumping in the waves were dancing as if the entire kingdom was breathing in the rhythm of joy. The people of this maritime kingdom always lived a life full of happiness and peace. They considered fishing, singing songs, and celebrating colorful festivals together as their biggest passion. Their king, King Esarhaddon, was beloved throughout the kingdom for his gentleness and wisdom. People came to his palace with their problems, and each time they relied on his wisdom with hope. Queen Asha also ruled with the king. She was beautiful, polite, and extremely kind. She often invited the women of the kingdom to the palace, listened to them, and helped them in every possible way. But behind his smile was a silent sadness, because he had no children. Every morning she would go to the royal garden with her maids, stand in front of the sacred tree and close her eyes. And she used to pray only one prayer to God: give me the happiness of children. King Akron also hid the same desire behind his stern face. He often looked out at the sea from his balcony and thought that one day the palace would echo with the laughter of his children. Time passed, days turned into months and months into years. Then one bright morning, the palace bells rang joyously. Queen Asha gave birth to twin daughters. The entire kingdom was immersed in celebration. The sun shone even brighter, and the sea was bathed in a golden glow. Lamps were shining and people were singing songs of joy. The royal court was filled with a grand celebration. Girls were busy dancing, delicious food was prepared, and a sweet fragrance lingered in the air. King Akron and Queen Asha were smiling and looking at their daughters. Two little fairies, who looked exactly alike, except one had black hair and the other had blonde hair. The king said lovingly, "Our dark-haired daughter will be named Myra, and our blonde daughter will be named Selena." When their names were announced, the people cheered and flowers were showered from the royal balcony. Years passed, and when the princess turned 5, she became the light of the kingdom. The two sisters were very beautiful and always played together, running among the flowers in the royal garden, chasing butterflies, and laughing at every move. The maids watched them with loving eyes. Every evening the princess would sit with her father, who would show her every corner of the kingdom. He would take her to parties, meet the princess children, feed the fish on the beach, and greet people. At night, Queen Asha would tell her stories, and she would fall asleep peacefully in the soft light of the crystal lamp. Time passed, the seasons changed, and soon the princesses were 16 years old. Their faces were alike, but their hearts were completely different. With her long black hair, large, sparkling eyes, and captivating smile, Princess Myra loved beauty and dance above all else. Every morning, the maids would prepare a new dress for her, adorned with pearls and silk, and she would go out to dance in the palace garden. When Myra danced, the garden would be filled with splendor, flowers would soar, and colorful ribbons would flutter in the wind. Colorful ribbons fluttered in the wind, but Myra was as lazy as ever. She wasn't in a hurry for anything. After the dance was over, she would simply fall asleep peacefully. If anyone woke her, she would say, "Let me sleep, stay away, I need peace." Her sister, Princess Selena, was the complete opposite. Her golden hair and deep blue eyes radiated light. Selena spread kindness and joy wherever she went. She would wake up early, get ready, and spend time with her parents. After breakfast, she would take her favorite book to the seashore and sit under a tree to read. When she sang, her sweet voice would blend with the waves, and birds and butterflies would flock to her. Selena was always helping others, going to the market, giving coins to the poor, and distributing toys to children. The king and queen were proud of her gentle nature, but Myra only wanted to sleep and dance. One night Queen Asha said, "I wonder what will become of Myra. Her laziness worries me." King Akron smiled and said, "Time teaches everything. One day he will understand." Finally, the day arrived. The twin princesses celebrated their birthday. The entire palace was decorated with flowers. White and red flowers, sparkling pearls, glittering crystals, and golden ribbons were scattered everywhere. Beautiful dresses were made of crystal threads and floral embroidery. Myra's dress was black and silver, adorned with rare gems, while Selena's dress was red and gold, shining like a red rose in the sunlight. A grand stage was set before them, and tables were laden with delicious food and sweets. Glittering lanterns hung, and the horses were decorated with flowers. Guests had come from far and wide, and music played everywhere. As the king and queen took their royal seats, the palace resounded with joy. Princess Selena arrived first, her red dress glowing like fire. She smiled and said, "I want to sing a song for everyone." As she began to sing, the palace grew quiet, fragrance spread everywhere, and the little windows opened as if the wind wanted to hear her song. Just then, Myra, shining like the night sky, appeared in the darkness. Smiling, she said, "Now I will show you a dance more beautiful than any song." The music began, and Myra captivated the atmosphere with her magical dance. Every movement was captivating and magical. Flowers bloomed around her feet, and the sky was ablaze with color. Everyone exclaimed in amazement, "Oh my God, what a beautiful dance." The sisters came onto the stage together and danced with the king and queen. A cake decorated with pearls and sparkling flowers was cut. The king stood and said, "My dear princesses, your gifts await you at the palace gate." The sisters ran along the flowered path, their dresses fluttering in the wind, one decorated with white and red pearls and the other with white and pink pearls. Myra laughed, "I won't be going anywhere. You'll be taking me everywhere with you." The king and queen looked at each other, a little surprised. Selena kissed her horse on the forehead and said softly, "We'll see the world together." After a few days, the king and queen decided it was time to teach their daughters some responsibility. One day, the maid came to call Myra and said, "Dear princess, the king and queen are waiting for you." Myra yawned and said, "Right now? I hope it won't be a boring job." After a while, the two sisters sat before the king and queen. The king said lovingly, "My daughters, I have to go abroad on important business. You too must protect the kingdom." Myra's eyes widened in surprise, but the queen smiled and said, "You can do it. Believe in yourself." Selena nodded and said, "We will do our best." Myra nodded slowly, but her heart was uneasy. As the king and queen set off on their voyage, a deep silence descended upon the palace. The wind crashed against the marble walls, creating a sound like waves. The two princesses stood on the balcony, watching their parents' ship disappear into the horizon. At first, everything seemed peaceful, but over time, a sense of responsibility began to sink in. Selena rose early in the morning, meeting with ministers, tending to the gardens, and attending to the needs of the people. She ensured that the fishermen, the gardeners, and the palace maids were well taken care of. May, on the other hand, spent most of her time in front of the mirror, combing her dark hair and adorning herself with jewelry. When the servants brought in reports, she would simply wave and say, "I'll see you later." Small problems began to pile up. The palace fountains stopped working, the fishing nets broke, and some of the flowers in the gardens withered. People waited for Myra's response, but she didn't appear at meetings. Whenever Selena passed by her room, she saw her lost in her dreams, yet she continued to work quietly, hoping that one day Myra would understand. One morning at the seashore, dark clouds gathered, waves began to rise, and heavy rain began to fall. The guards rushed to Selena's hall and told her that a food boat had struck a coral reef and was in danger. Selena immediately called for soldiers and worked tirelessly to tow the boat to safety. Myra sat on the balcony, terrified, but for the first time, she saw her sister helping people. A strange feeling lingered in her heart, a faint voice saying, "Perhaps beauty alone isn't enough." The storm subsided, and people gathered around Selena, rejoicing at her kindness. Myra quietly retired to her room, a slight sadness in her heart, a sense of loss. That evening, Myra went to her favorite garden, where she always danced. She sat sad and silent among the flowers. Sitting by the fountain, she touched the lotus petals. The water seemed calm and the colors faded. She remembered her father's words, "Time teaches everything." And suddenly, everything made sense to her. The kingdom was like a garden. Its bright flowers wither if not tended. The next morning, Myra rose before sunrise, put on her simple gown, and went straight to the council room, where Selena was reading the report. Without a word, she sat down beside her, and the two princesses began to work together. Myra would go to the gardens, help the workers repair the fountain, watch the fishermen on the shore, and listen to stories. People were delighted by her wit and laughter, and soon they loved her as much as Selena. Weeks passed, and the kingdom began to change. The fountains sparkled again, new flowers bloomed in the gardens, and the sea turned calm and blue. One morning, Myra returned dancing to the royal garden. Something magical happened, but this time something different. The flowers bloomed not because of her beauty, but because of her kind heart. The colors in the air were more vibrant than ever, the birds chirped overhead, and the whole kingdom seemed alive. Selena watched all this from the balcony, smiling. When the king and queen returned, they saw the palace shining like crystal. The people were happy, singing songs, and the two daughters were standing at the gate. Now they were not only beautiful princesses, but also governors. The king embraced them both and said, "Now I feel our kingdom is in safe hands." The queen's eyes sparkled with joy and tears began to flow. That night, under the soft moonlight, the palace was once again awash in celebration. But this celebration wasn't for a birthday, but for change and growth. From then on, the twin princesses spread their story to the depths of the ocean with their unique light. One taught everyone love, compassion, and kindness, while the other learned that true beauty lies not in glitter, but in a kind heart. Likewise, the radiance of this crystal kingdom grew greater than ever, not just on the surface of the waters, but also in every corner of the palace, and in the hearts of those who lived within it. Love and knowledge made it vibrant and radiant, and this light endured forever.